And a wonderful on-passive day to you. We are back again, and today we're going to talk about brines. Early civilizations like the Egyptians and Greeks and Romans, they used brining to preserve fish and meats. And as you may imagine, without modern refrigeration, salt was a very valuable commodity, and it was often traded like gold back in the day. During the Middle Ages, brining continued to continue or to be a common preservation method, especially for meats and fish. And as exploration expanded, so did the use of brining, since salted fish and meats were essential for long sea voyages, right? Now, the Industrial Revolution came along and brought advancements in food preservation, including the development of more controlled brining processes. It is still widely used in both home cooking and commercial food processing to bring out the flavor and the tenderness, and in preservation of various foods, meats, vegetables, cheeses, even. It evolved over time, but the core principles all remain the same in that brines are solutions that are made of water and salt, and they have some other things thrown in, some various spices, herbs, and sometimes sugar. Now, brining works through osmosis, which is it's the passing of materials through membranes, right? And this allows the meat to absorb water and salt, which helps it stay juicy and keeps the flavor during cooking. Now, the purpose of brining is primarily used in meats and poultry, and it increases moisture and it adds flavor and tenderness to the meat and poultry by submerging them in a solution for a period of time before cooking. The ingredients of it are a solution of water and salt. You often add sugar, herbs, spices, sometimes some acidic components. And the process is much the same as your marinade, where you would talk about it being submerged in a brine for from several hours to a few days even. And the salt in the brine helps the meat to retain the moisture during cooking. Now, a basic brine recipe, right? Here's a simple one for you. It's effective for either pork or poultry, even vegetables, where you get a gallon of water, you get a cup of salt, you get a half cup of sugar if you wanted to, make it a little sweeter. And you'd get some what we call aromatics. These are your herbs and spices and stuff, possibly 1 to 2 tablespoons of peppercorn, 2 to 3 bay leaves, 4 cloves of garlic. You smash them all up. An onion, quartered or even cut smaller. Fresh herbs like, herbs like thyme, rosemary, sage, things like that. And what you do is you put all that stuff, you mix it in a pot, combine the water and the salt and all of that stuff, whatever you're using, you heat the mixture up over a medium heat. You don't want it to heat up too quick, don't want to burn it. Just keep stirring it, stirring it, stirring it until all the sugars and all of the salts and everything are dissolved. And then after it's nice and hot, you remove it from the heat, you let it cool down to room temperature. And for faster cooling, if you wanted to, you could slap some ice cubes in there. At this point, this is when you want to add the peppercorns, the bay leaves, the onions, all the aromatics we talked about. Once the brine is cool, that's when you put that in there. And then place your meat and your vegetables in a large resealable plastic bag, or a deep container, depending on how much you got. Then you pour that brine over the food, ensuring that it's completely submerged. If necessary, you might want to weigh the food down with something to keep it submerged if it's in a pot or something, or to be sure, seal the bag, cover the container, and then slap it in the refrigerator for a while. Now, the time that it's in the refrigerator, the brining time, as they call it, depends on what you're doing. If you're working with poultry, you're going to want to use, anywhere from 1 to 24 hours, depending on how much it is. For example, you'd want 1 to 2 hours for chicken breasts, maybe 12 to 24 hours if you had a whole turkey, right? If you're working with pork, probably wanting anywhere from 4 to 12 hours, depending on the cut of the pork. And vegetables are a little easier. You can do 30 minutes to a couple of hours with that. Excuse me. Now, once that's been in there and it's brined for a sufficient amount of time, you want to rinse it and cook it. And after brining, you just Remove the food from the solution, rinse it thoroughly under cold water, removing all the excess salt, pat it dry with paper towels or something before you want to cook it. So that's that for brining. I hope that you have a wonderful non-passive day. And the next one we're going to talk about are called broths. See ya.